Hello, everybody, and good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Smoking Simian podcast on this lovely, lovely Monday. Remember, our podcast is now brought to you by Life Boost Coffee. This coffee's phenomenal, everybody. This coffee's healthy. It's the healthiest coffee on the planet. It is. There's no doubt about it. It's, they stand for a great message. They're a great fucking company. They care about the thing that stood out to me was the fact that they distinguish that they pay their farmers sustainable wages, which is great. Which, I mean, how many corporations or companies on a large scale, such as a coffee bean operation, a coffee growing operation, how many of them are really taking the time to care about the people that are really creating their product? Life Boost Coffee. Life Boost Coffee cares. This is the biggest thing. They care so much about what they're putting out. It goes right down, right down to the mycotoxins not being involved in any of this. Right? Mycotoxins it's a metabolite that's grown from mold. I learned this, all about this, just through this opportunity, and they. It comes from how coffee beans are stored. The mold is grown, and even right down to how it's stored, guys. They care through and through. Rigorous process. Everything's hand-picked. I love that, too. It's not a machine doing this shit. But, guys, listen. Life Boost Coffee. I have a link on YouTube. It's a hyperlink, so you can click right on it. Do your thing. You got to scroll a little bit. If you're on your phone, I think you got to scroll to find the your deal thing. It says claim your deal or some shit like that. If you're on your laptop, I think it's in the top right corner. It's a big yellow box that says claim now or whatever. Either way, guys, it's a hell of a deal. Half off your first order, and then you might even be hooked after that. And you can thank the good old Smoking Simian for putting you on. Life Boost Coffee, check it out. Use the link, copy and paste it, do whatever the fuck you got to do, because when you're supporting Life Boost Coffee, you're supporting the Smoking Simian. And I love you guys, and I want all the support I can get. So I wanted to talk this week a little bit about last week and how things can just change on a fucking dime, right? You go back to Conor McGregor getting his ass beat last week, right? And I know I talked about it on Monday, but and it's actually kind of crazy that I talked about it on Monday because of the shitty day that I was having, but. Things just flip on a dime, right? Conor in that fight, the first round, it looked like he was landing his shots. Although when I was watching, it looked like he was reaching. His back foot was coming off the ground, which he does normally, but a little bit more than usual. He was reaching a little bit, leaning forward, but he's quick and he's fast and he relies on that shit. And it looked like Conor won that first round, pretty handily. He got taken down, he got right back up. It was in the second round where things flipped on a fucking dime, and Dustin may have been in a bad way in the first round, but it didn't matter what happened in the second. So it really helps to take each day piece by piece and to realize that every day is a new fucking beginning. It's hard to realize it on a really, really minuscule level in terms of sub day, I guess, if the word counts, like hours and minutes and half hours and shit like that. That's crazy. If you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. If you can turn it around, great. If not, tomorrow, tomorrow isn't always promised, but a lot of the times it is. You almost know if tomorrow is going to be promised or not. You feel me? It's a great thing to say. It sounds cool, but a lot of us kind of, and again, things happen, crazy things happen, but the odds that tomorrow's coming are higher than most people like to think, I would assume. But tomorrow's always a new start, guys. And I was having a shitty day on Monday, and everything changed. The dread of all the things that were worrying me, like going back to work and this Life Boost thing not working for the first day and all this stuff. It all switched when on Thursday, the Thursday episode, a good friend Greg came on. He was willing to come on super short notice. regardless of how he thinks he did. I think he did fine, but I also think he wants to come back, and I want to have him on again. But he was a huge help to me because I wasn't going to have a guest. And just the fact that I was able to get this Life Boost stuff working, and it was just, there's all these little like micro frustrations that build, and once all of that was done, it's like, nice, and sometimes you got to take a second and realize that the next day is a new day. The next day is a new, it's that time to get that frustration off. If that whole day I didn't get, probably on Monday, I was probably shitty the whole day. I don't remember specifically, but I was probably shitty the whole day. That's usually how I do it. Sometimes I can switch. But if you're shitty the whole day, you're shitty the whole day, whatever. But the next day, those frustrations should be left at the door or left on the pillow or whatever the fuck you want to say. It's super important to let that shit bounce off your shoulders. And a lot of the times, we're good at it, right? A lot of the times, we don't give a fuck. It just bounces, boom, boom, boom. And you don't even feel it piling, right? And then sometimes it's just a real quick, at least for me, sometimes it's like 3 days in a row, a whole bunch of bad shit happens, or quote-unquote bad shit, because in the grand scheme of things, it's a lot of minor inconveniences that upset you, or chances that you took that didn't pan out the way that you thought. Those day-to-day decisions that maybe you're like, I could have done this or that or whatever. And that's really those micro frustrations that turn into one big one, that turn into a pile. And sometimes it's bigger. It's too big to bounce off the shoulders, you know what I'm saying? Like, shoulders only so goddamn big, motherfuckers. It's sometimes you got to take your lumps. And I'm happy I came on, talked about it. I always talk about transparency and that shit. But enough of how shitty I felt last week. This week, I feel pretty fucking good. No COVID, which is nice. Didn't get sick at all. I was able to work this weekend, make a little bit extra money at the restaurant. I quarantined for about 10 days, basically. No, 100% 10 days, yeah, because Wednesday and then Saturday I worked. So I was perfect right at the end of my quarantine. Didn't get sick. Caroline's feeling better. And I'm getting back to work this coming week, which, I've already set a timeline for how long I want to work there for, just because the 40 hours is dreadful, and I don't forget about that. But I am excited to get back and start making a little bit of money because it's been tough for everybody. I've been saving my money and I've been doing well, and I'm happy for that, and I'm happy I was able to stay disciplined with a lot of that stuff. And super thankful to my girlfriend for not being, like needy or anything. Well, we can go anywhere. She don't do none of that shit. That's why I love her. So we're going into this week good. We're rocking and rolling. A lot bit better of a tone to set here on this Monday. I think I'm going to try to, with going back to work and everything, I'm going to try my hardest to go to the gym and exercise before going to work. I'm going to try my best, because then I can have my nights, a little bit more time for myself, or get some work done on the podcast, or with obsessive aggression and all these things. And I think that's what I'm going to try to do. I don't know how long it's going to last. It's going to be tough. It's going to be fucking tough, because I don't have to get up super early. I get up like 6:45. It's not crazy. I used to get up at 5 o'clock to go bake cookies in that miserable fucking building. So it's really not terrible. If I can end up being a part of the 5 o'clock club for a little while, that'd be kind of cool. I never did it for an extended period of time, and I talk shit about it. So I want to see if I can, see what it's all about. See, I want to at least see if it does make a difference at all, and if I'm not just tired all the time. I feel like it's a good win in the day. I feel like it's a great way to start your day if you get up on time, whatever that time is. It sucks when you shut your alarm off, because now everything that you had planned for that day is all set back. You might not get everything done, and that sucks. And the days where you want to sleep in, I feel like sometimes they should be planned for. Sometimes they're not always planned for, but you should at least know that, like, hey, I'm not going to get what I, normally would get done that day because I'm going to sleep in. Or you just got to change the schedule up. Either fucking way, I'm not here to talk the logistics of scheduling at the moment, but I think that's going to be an interesting thing for me to start doing, getting up early, going to do my motherfucking little route, driving paint around. It's an interesting job. It is what it is. It's better than being inside a building. But yeah, nice strong tone to this week. Another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about has been in the news a lot, and me being a finance person, I guess, a finance guy. I feel like we all call ourselves that. Finance, I'm a finance guy. We always add guy to the end of it. Yeah, finance guy. I like that stuff. Stocks and, hedge funds and nice shiny shoes. I love it. But really, I do love to study that shit, and I love the news about it. And craziness is going on, right? It's crazy thing, and it's just adding to the rhetoric of, hey, us people are stronger than we think, right? And it's a beautiful thing, and it's a crazy fucking thing altogether, right? So for a guy like me, who plays the stock market the, I guess, more traditional way, if you would say, you kind of build a portfolio. You base it on, you make it as aggressive or passive as you'd like, and by buying different shares and share amounts and allocating them differently of companies that align with your risk tolerance. So that's how I've been doing it. That's kind of the way everybody does it. That's what a hedge fund does. For those of you who don't know what a hedge fund is, because again, and I don't mean to imply that anybody is dumb, but we're uninformed, a lot of us, in terms of financial literacy. So a hedge fund is basically a portfolio of stocks. It's a collection of stocks and other securities. It's usually stocks and bonds. The more the lower tolerance you have for risk, it's probably going to have more bonds, because bonds have a steady, it's like a flat rate, so it adds more of a cushion to your portfolio. Whereas if you're a little more aggressive, you're on the younger side, you have more time to build, you'll probably go more stocks, mid cap to high cap, companies. So that's what a hedge fund does. It makes a big collection, and then it gets people to buy in this much, this much, this much, and it raises, over time, and you get a return, and it's a great investment most of the time, hedge funds. So what a lot of these hedge funds have been doing are shorting these companies that are basically in the dirt already, right? They've been doing it for years. This goes back to the 2008 crisis, right? This goes back to the 2008 crisis. The housing market crashed because these big hedge funds, these companies, were making so much money off of shorting these subprime mortgages, which were in a terrible market. It was a market that was falling apart at the seams. It was made of nothing. And when you short a stock, it's basically you're borrowing it. Sometimes it doesn't even exist. Most of the time it doesn't even exist. That's what these companies are doing. They short it because you're basically betting that the stock is going to drop, and then you're going to buy it back at the cheaper price, and then now you can sell it for whatever the fuck. So shit, lost my train of thought. So, like I was saying, these companies have been exploiting GameStop's shares, because they've been on a steady decline, because the company's kind of shitty. We don't need GameStop anymore. You buy games, download them, whatever the fuck. So companies have been doing the same fucking thing. They've been shorting shares that don't even exist. They've been making a killing on their hedge funds, which are making their clients a lot of money. And a lot of the times, these hedge funds are already people of high net worth. The clients of these hedge funds are people of high net worth and this type of thing. So they're making a killing off of a company that's absolutely dying out in a fair but sinister way. And the reason why I say fair is because it's part of the game. It's companies die, companies thrive. That's what it is. And Wall Street's going to make as much money as they can off the dying company, just as much in a similar fashion as they can with the companies that are thriving. So it's just the opposite thing. And I kind of went on a tangent about hedge funds because I had forgotten why I brought them up in the first place. And I was saying that I typically play the game like that. Every once in a while, I'll jump in on an IPO and I'll make a little bit of money and pull out, or something like that, a company that's hot or whatever. But what I typically do and what I'm looking for is long-term growth. I want to have something at the end of all this. So it's about building a portfolio that's balanced and within my risk tolerance range that I can build, for future generations. Now, that's what I do. A lot of people I know, and first of all, I try to advise everybody that that's the best way to do it, right? Because it typically is. Again, if we're playing by the rules that are already made, it typically is. It's the best way to avoid volatility because you balance one portion of your portfolio is down, the other portion's up, yada, yada, yada. So it kind of just balances it out. It mitigates the risk for you. If you try to just go all in on one stock and hope it shoots up, then, it's probably not gonna. Not that it's probably not gonna. I shouldn't say that. It's probably not it's not a safe bet. It's a sucker's bet a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. We all add different stocks to our portfolio, but that's because we're adding it and we're seeing how it plays in there, because you can always get rid of it. If you put $2,000 in one company and it shits the bed, you lose all $2,000. If you put $2,000 of a company in a portfolio that's worth $20,000, that's not terrible. You know what I'm saying? That's not too bad. So now what's happening is WallStreetBets on Reddit did a crazy fucking thing, and they're like, hey, they're making all this money off GameStop. They're driving them into the dirt even more so because of how shorted they're getting. And now it's time that we buy them, and we buy a lot. We buy a lot of it, and we hold it. We don't sell. We don't fucking sell, because if we sell, then now it's, the short selling thing, it's harder. It doesn't get done. If everybody that owns GameStop just owns the shares, then there's not gonna be any in circulation for companies to short. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened, and they held, and the shit boomed, and people got rich overnight. People made a whole bunch of money, and there's all these other companies that they're doing it to, Bed Bath and Beyond, and all these things, and it's actually detrimental to the people who are playing the game in the fashion of a hedge fund, in the fashion of accepting portfolio theory. Portfolio theory being, diversify to mitigate your risk when you build a portfolio. And but at the other hand, it's part of the game. It should be part of the game because it's already being played, right? The individual investor only has so much leeway. There's so many other levels of hierarchy when it comes to this type of stuff, because all right, so you have the company, right? Now there's the board of directors, and their job is to help the majority shareholders. Now, how many people own these companies, right, or own major stakes in these companies? Those are the people that matter. They get the voting rights. These companies that own major portions of other companies, they get the voting rights. They have the highest, votes they have the highest authority when it comes to things that happen in the company, because a company's job is to provide for shareholders, profit and satisfy shareholders, essentially. Because when you own a share, you own part of the company. Now, we, as individual investors, don't have access to nearly as many shares of any fucking company that a corporation would have, right? Some corporations own 10, 20% of the shares that another company A owns 10 to 20% shares of company B. No individual investor, no small-time hedge fund, no small-time mutual fund, none of that stuff is going to come anywhere close to that. Even a mutual fund, like, if Apple wants to put more into fucking, I don't know, some other company, Blockbuster, then they're going to be able to put a lot more than most hedge funds, right? Most asset managers. Now, there's obviously some monstrous asset manager companies, but nonetheless, what I'm trying to say is The individual investor doesn't have any power to influence the market at all. None at all. None. They have, not by themselves, right? It's impossible. Now, what Reddit did was it gave power to the many, essentially, because right now power is in the hands of a few. WallStreetBets changed that shit. They flip-flopped everything. They flipped the fucking game. And for me, someone who plays the game with the portfolio idea, building my portfolio, it hurt me. I've been on a straight downward fucking decline because the market is reacting in a certain way. You know, the market's always going to correct itself at some point. And, you know, people ask, hey, so why is this even a bad thing? This is great that this is happening. And I agree. I 100% agree that it's a great thing. But who knows what the detriment would be if this was something that happened all the time, right? This could fuck with the market heavily. And the reason why is because the information that it's getting is not coming based off of, you know, economic indicators or technical, technical indicators with companies and you know, real evidence that all these shares should be rising and the whole market should be at this worth or this, this percentage of growth. The market realizes that, and it's a crazy thing because that's what happens when a bubble is created and then it pops and everything fucking drops, right? So that's why something like this could be detrimental if it keeps happening. For example, a lot of money from that the individual got in 2020 went right back into the market, which is why it was boom, boom, boom. It was pumping up. Excuse me, something's happening on here. It was just fucking, it was going up and up and up. And it didn't really pop. This has just been kind of like a crazy type thing. But it was going, up and down a little bit. Whereas before it was, once everybody was getting their money and everybody was pumping it back into the market, it was on the way up, rise. Then it got to a point it corrected, and now it's back, and now it's hitting a down point because of all this crazy shit that's happening, which again over time I'm sure it'll correct. Now, what's going to happen with WallStreetBets? My best guess is that there's going to be some type of legislation that's going to be put in place, some type of legislation and regulation. Now, I couldn't tell you what the fuck it is. I couldn't tell you what's going to happen. But Robinhood is in some shit because they cut off everything. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of these other companies didn't do that. Fidelity didn't do that. Webull, which is a new thing. So it's interesting. I listened a little bit to what the CEO was saying, and it had to do with funding and this money that they have to put up to even operate or whatever the case was. And I don't know. It's bullshit. It really is bullshit because it's part of the game. It's part of the game. The hedge funds, the billionaires, they all play this game. And because now the people found a way to flip it on them, now it's, oh shit, because they were playing the game so hard. All the money that was in GameStop, all the money that these companies were making from GameStop, I should say, because none of the money's in GameStop. It's almost non-existent. It's based off of nothing, right? And let me explain a little bit what that means. So when you short a stock, it's essentially you making a bet. It's the opposite of buying it, right? It's essentially you making a bet that it's going to go down, right? The price is going to decrease. It's going to shit the bed. In which case you'll buy it and then sell it back to the person that you borrowed the shares from. That's the key word here, because when you short, what happens is you borrow some shares for somebody, you wait till it drops, you buy it back at whatever price it was, right? Because let's say you bought it at 400, it drops to 100. You buy it back at 100, you made $300, you give your shares back to the person you borrowed it from. So if there's nobody buying GameStop because of how shitty a company it is, there's just these shares that are kind of lying around that these Wall Street bigwigs and these hedge funds and all these people that have the opportunity to take advantage of a failing company like this, they just short it and they drive it down lower and lower and lower, because what's happening is everything's being made on credit. It's a whole credit line. So there's no gains that's happening. When you buy a stock, you want it to go up. You want the gains so that eventually, if you're not building a portfolio, you can pull out and you make whatever you made. So that's what shorting is. Shorting it's basically on credit. You're borrowing some shares at a higher price. It drops. You buy them back at the lower price, and you give the shares back, and now you just made that difference. So it's a sketchy area, and it's an area where it can get very what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, there's a lot of gray area, right? Because of the credit involved, the idea that there's just these shares that are just kind of floating around with nobody owning them, and all these different things. So I'm super interested to see what happens going forward. I hope these companies don't, in terms of brokerages, I hope they don't fucking do some crazy regulation on this stuff. It should be on the billionaires and Wall Street and all these people. It should be on them to figure out how to get out of this, right? Aren't they the smart ones? Aren't they the most financially literate out of all of us? Shouldn't there be a way to get out of this? Number one. Number two, maybe it's a sign, hey, let's not fuck with these things that don't exist, right? Let's not fuck with these markets that are basically non-existent. I mean, that's never going to happen, but it should show to them, like, hey, the public have a way to do this. Like, we have a way now. You know what I'm saying? There's always been, you could always do this. This is basically pump and dump. But the fact that it's not an actual brokerage or a fund or something like that, it's just people collectively making like a pact to do this. What can you do? What the fuck can you do? It's the same thing as a hedge fund. It's the same thing as everybody saying, hey, let's all invest in this hedge fund. We're all going to put all this money in, and he's going to take care of it, and we're going to do great. It's the same thing as... But it's the same thing as that. It's more risk because it's just GameStop and you hope everybody buys in, but everybody bought in and everybody found a way to do this. Now, can it be repeated? Possibly. Of course it can. Can you get out to a whole new group of people? I'm sure. But I'm just interested to see what the companies are going to do, the brokerages, and I'm interested to see what regulations or legislation is going to be implemented here, because it's a crazy thing and it's phenomenal, and there's also investments that one can make if you're trying to play by the portfolio theory rules to kind of mitigate some of the volatility that's happening. You can actually buy into an index, or a fund that measures an index, or I shouldn't say measures, mimics an index that actually measures the volatility of the market. So the more volatile the market, Jesus, see every time, the more volatile the market, the more it goes up. The more the fund goes up, the more the index goes up. There's also such things as inverse funds. Inverse funds are what go in, it's inversely proportional to the market. So if you get an inverse fund that mimics, or maybe anti-mimics, mirrors, maybe, I don't know, the movements of the S&P 500, if it's going up, your fund will go down. But if the market's down, your fund will go up. So you can buy, one of those, an ETF, that, an inverse fund, inverse ETF. That's what the fuck that shit's called. So you can also buy bonds. You can buy ETFs that follow bonds. And if that's the case, you got to look at the rates, right? The rates and the price of bonds are inversely proportional. So if you think the Fed is going to raise rates, then you would think that the price of bonds is going to go down. So an ETF is going to go down. All I'm trying to say here, people, is don't let the craziness that's going on in the market stray you away from still trying to play it. Anytime the market's down, look at it as a sale. Look at it as a way to, take advantage. again, it takes literacy, it takes time, but if you take the time, you'll and you read the right things and just try to stay informed on it. Read the news, that type of shit. Do your motherfucking thing, guys. It's Monday. It's Monday. It's Monday. It's Monday. We got a great week coming up ahead. Yeah. Boom. Podcast done. We're finished. Make sure you follow me, guys. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at abarboza000. Follow me on Twitter at the Simian _. Make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you listen to the show. And make sure when you're on YouTube, you subscribe, you share, you comment, you do all that type of shit. And make sure you check out Life Boost Coffee. Guys, I've said it 1,000 times. It's phenomenal. You're going to hear me say it 1,000 more. It is great fucking quality gourmet coffee. No lower quality beans mixed into this shit. Nothing like that. This is beautiful, beautiful stuff. If you're looking for a great quality coffee, organic, you want it to be healthy, you want some health benefits, this is the stuff. I'm giving you guys 50% off your first order. This is great. It's a bundle. You're going to get a whole lot too, so it's great. That's it, people. Peace.